Hello, my name is Paris Novato, and I'm going to be talking about how deformed virus damages the Apis mellifera for my YouTube submission project. So I'm going to go a little bit of background of Apis mellifera. Apis mellifera is honeybee. They are crucial to our world because they play a big role in our ecosystem's health and agriculture productivity. They are the key pollinators for fruits, wildflowers, and crops. By pollinating wild plants, they help maintain biodiversity. Agriculture really relies on them to pollinate the crops for good crop yields and quality. Here we have a diagram of different products, fruits and veggies, and how much of an impact the honeybees have on them. You can see the colors and how tall the bars are, and that's how it tells you how much it impacts them. So the agent I will be talking about with Apis mellifera is going to be the deformed wing virus. So deformed wing virus is short for DWV. It is caused by a high viral mite population. These mites serve as hosts for viral diseases like DWV. This virus within them can affect all stages of Apis mellifera. The symptoms are twisted, shriveled wings, bloated abdomens, and can affect negatively learning and memory of infected bees. The virus affects the Apis mellifera's ability to navigate and forage for their pollen to produce honey. Here we have a diagram and pictures of how the virus affects the wings. You can see the top wing is a good, healthy bee wing, and the bottom one is an infected wing. You can see how it's crippled and all skinny. Not really good for foraging. So how do infective agents like deformed wing virus affect the Apis mellifera's health and social functioning? So when DWV infects the honeybee, it not only infects the wings but also has a great impact on how they think and complete their designated task in the colony. To start off, when infected, the adenosine pathway is negatively impacted, which affects the honeybee's learning and memorization. Researchers have also done studies on infected honeybees and noted how certain genes like immunity and neurological genes are more crucially affected than other genes. Not only does the neurological system suffer from this virus, but also the sensory system of the honeybee. Researchers have shown how nursing bees with the virus have also been negatively impacted, affecting the way they nurse the brood and detect it. So, adenose pathway, when DWV enters the Apis mellifera system, it damages the adenose pathway. This causes the honeybee to suffer from retaining information and forgetting things they already knew. So, this mostly impacts the foragers and the ones who collect the pollen because they really need to memorize those patterns of how they get to those pollinating places. So, this is really important for bees to have and know. And if it is infected by this agent, it really affects the way they do their task in the beehive. For brain function, I found a study of how DWV affected the brain function. So scientists infected newly adult honeybees to see how the virus affected their brain functions. They carefully analyzed each bee's brain individually to get the most accurate results. They used RNA sequencing to go measure expression levels and determine what did get affected by the virus and what did not. So the two factors they really tried to stay on was increased expression and the decreased expressions. So for increased expressions, what they found was 269 genes that were linked with an innate immunity. This suggests that the bee brain initiates the internal immune response when the virus hits the body. For decreased expression was that they found a lot of more genes that were affected. That was 1,365 genes, and these were connected with cellular communication and brain signals. With these results, they came to the conclusion that the major effect that this virus had on Apis mellifera was the disruption to the brain and how the brain functions. So sensory system, for this, I found a study done on nursing honeybees. They studied both infected nursing bees and uninfected nursing bees. As they collected their data, they extracted a big amount of viruses from the antenna and the brain to know how much of it was there. They conducted a behavioral test using a wide tube olfactometer to see if the infected bees would act the same as the non-infected bees towards the larva pheromone substance. So what they saw in this study is how the infected honeybees did not respond correctly to the larva pheromone. They had produced for them, which means the virus really impacted the olfactory system organ in those infected honeybees. And for the neural and synaptic genes, they noticed that neuroxin 1 and neurologen 1 were downregulated for the infected bees. Here we have a diagram from this same research project, and it shows basically the bee age and how many days it was infected and how greatly impacted it was. So, in conclusion, the deformed wing virus can have a really negative impact on the Apis mellifera's health and social functioning. It affects the way they learn and process their information. It affects the brain and its functions and how they signal to other organs. And it affects the sensory system, which causes the olfactory organ to malfunction. So why is this significant? Although they are not talked about enough, our ecosystem will not function properly without the Apis mellifera. They are the keystone pollinator that sustain biodiversity and the stability of our entire world. They depend on the communication system, neurological system, learning system, and sensory organs to produce and survive. Without these agents, they cannot function properly in their colony. So, deforming virus threatens all these key factors they need. It is important to know when honeybees are infected and try to prevent it from happening. So, these bees really depend on all these factors I talked about in this presentation, and the DWV really negatively impacts all those factors which they need to survive. So, it's important for us to know when they are infected and try to prevent it from happening because these critters are really important for our world, and without them, our ecosystem will not function properly. And that'll be the end of my presentation. Thank you.